This is Torsti Laine's One Love, and this is why it's cool.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Constant, what's going on?
Wow, what do you have there?
Dude, this is Torsti Laine's One Love for Revolution. It's 12 unique watches.
Who is actually Torsti Laine?
Well, Torsti Laine is a really interesting guy. He's a Finnish watchmaker who went to the same school as Guilloché À Main Dial, and he then moved to Guilloche to set up his workshop. And he started working initially on these really cool vintage Valjoux chronograph movements, but he eventually ended up creating his own signature style of watches, which really reminds me of the golden age of watches from the 40s and 50s, which is, I know, stuff that you like, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So, Constant, you were asking me who is Torsti Laine, and I would respond by saying he's a brilliant Finnish watchmaker that, to me, is beautifully channeling the style of the 1940s and 50s, kind of like the golden age of watchmaking, in the way that we see watchmakers like Kikuchi Nakagawa in Japan or Atelier Chronometrie in Spain is doing. So, he's a super interesting guy. He's kind of an autodidact. Initially, he was teaching code programming, and then he fell in love with watchmaking, and this brought him in his native Finland to go to this wonderful school that Kari Voutilainen went to, called Kielo Sepakulu. Right?
Amazing. That always amazed me, and how can he actually remember this type of stuff? You know?
So in 2014, Torsti entered a competition that was held by Lang & Son, and he made this incredible design for a moon phase watch, but you could view the phase of the moon from every different position in the world, because as you know, depending on where you are in the world, the moon phase appears differently, right? He won 10,000 euros as a result of this, and he used this money to go set up shop in Guilloche, where he was basically working out of his apartment, but now has moved to a beautiful premises in Le Chaux du Fall, thanks to the success that he's garnered from his creation of these watches. So he makes two types of watches in two different sizes. One is the V38, which is driven by a Vauchour micro rotor movement.
Yes.
And the other one, which is the GG3, which is using an Unitas 6498 base caliber. But when I say as a base caliber, he basically keeps like the gear train and the oscillator, throws everything else away, and creates the most beautiful movements from this ébauche. Dude, I'm telling you, the level of transformation is incredible. I don't know if you've ever seen those like high school like makeover movies where like, you know, the guy starts off as a super nerd and he comes out looking like a complete stud. But that's the equivalent of the work, the transformative miracle that is represented by Torsti Laine's work on the Unitas caliber. So what he does is, he just keeps the gear train and he tosses everything except for the anti-shock, the regulation system, and the balance wheel, although he gets rid of the needle for the regulation system. And he creates an all-new base plate, and he machines this on premises as well, right? So you have this wonderful curvaceous swooping base plate, and then you have these really ornate forms of steel bridges, one for the escape wheel and one for the balance wheel. So Leah, take a look at that. So if you look at those, right, those are like high polished bridges for the escape wheel and for the balance wheel. Each of those takes 5 hours to execute just in terms of polishing. Look at the work on the ratchet wheel as well. The snailing is incredible on the steel surface. And then take a look at that loop and look at the countersinks for all the jewels. They're beautifully polished.
My God. Such an amazing work. I mean, I can even see myself. Look at that mirror polish. It's amazing.
Very, very cool. Okay, so anyway, the two different watches are two different sizes, one in 38 and one in 40.5 mm. But why do we choose the 40.5 mm times 11.3 in terms of thickness? It's because this is the one where he has the most capacity for artistic freedom in terms of completely reconfiguring the movement. And so it gave us an opportunity to create a really cool decoration for the movement. You know, why talk about this just looking at the watches? Let's bring the watches with us into the natural light and go have a coffee.
All right, let's go.
Man, looking at these watches in the natural light, like all the textures really come to life.
My God.
Like look at that meteorite, that's absolutely stunning.
Not just the meteorite, look at all the rest of the guilloche, you know, the basket weave guilloche is amazing as well. And the Gelidas frosted finish you can actually see is more prominent now in some of the chapter rings, you know, in some of these watches.
Oh, but check this out. This is a double guilloche watch, right? So you've got the guilloche on the dial, and then the only contrast is the guilloche on the subdial. But when you have this like vortex guilloche that extends all the way to the end, it's so cool to look at in this light.
My God, it's so amazing.
Stunning.
Oh my God, yeah. Wow.
So anyway, why do we call these watches One Love? So Torsti said to us, like, listen, I love the idea of doing a collaboration with you, but we should do something to celebrate the fact that revolution is present over 3 parts of the world. The Middle East, the western part of the world, you know, the United States and Europe, and of course Asia as well, which is where we're based right now. And I said, well, tell me more about that, Torsti. He said, like, wait, don't you think watches are not just a hobby, but they're like an international culture? And I know you have a perspective on that.
For me, watches are everything to me, you know. It's what I love, you know, it's what I pursue. This is the same for many of my friends and collectors that I know all around the world. You know, I have friends from Dubai, you know, I have friends from Japan, I have friends from China, I have friends from Russia. So the only thing that is in common with all of us is, of course, the shared love for watches in general, and that's what I think the one love is so meaningful to me, because it is the one love for timepieces.
I absolutely love that also. And I was like, Torsti, I was like, you know, dude, I love the idea that watches are this like international language that transcends race, religion, culture, and that they're something that galvanizes the international community together. How do you think we could celebrate that? And he said, well, you know, I have this capacity to do the tiniest micro engraving. And I was like, bro, when you say tiny, do you mean like that, you know, Grubel Force Invention piece kind of tiny? He said, pretty damn close. And so I went to go see this, and he actually created his own laser engraving machine.
My God.
And he was capable of doing the tiniest of laser engravings. And he thought it would be a cool idea to laser engrave the word peace in every language in the world on the base plate, and he did an incredible job. Look at the quality of that detail, man.
My God, it's really I'm speechless, really.
So he basically starts with a base plate that he's created himself. Then he negative engraves it, meaning that he's removing all the material and leaving just the words that are left there. You can see that he's also applied this beautiful grenet finish to the recessed area, and the high relief areas that have the words he then hand polishes. And the contrast between the two of them and the level of detail is really exquisite. So if you look at the area right next to the crown, next to the barrel wheel, you see that he's included a tiny peace symbol and a dove of peace as well.
Yes.
And when you look at this, it can't help but just like make me smile, because there's just so much kind of like passion and unity in this watch.
Just look at my face now. I'm smiling.
You know, and since we have the watch flipped over, let's also look at the different parts of the watch. I mean, you can see in this natural light how complex the forms are for the steel escape bridge and also the steel balance bridge as well. And I just wanted to mention to you that it takes 5 hours for him to high polish these parts, right? Each individual part takes 5 hours. And that's a demonstration of the incredible level of finishing that you're getting on this watch, which at $11,000 is pretty incredible, right?
Honestly, I mean, I'm so glad I got one. You know, it's such great value. You know, I cannot believe that it's priced at, you know, 11,000. You know, and my God, look at that amount of attention to detail. Is really insane. I'm so impressed. Like under natural lighting, I'm so impressed that it's like breathtaking to me.
Yeah, actually, I should take my sunglasses off. It's so freaking dope. What I love about watchmakers like Torsti and guys like Stefan Kadoki and Richard Habring is they take like existing embouches, but then they elevate the technical and aesthetic language of those movements to a completely different realm. I mean, this is, to me, an act of horological transubstantiation. You've taken something that is base, like a Unitas base caliber, and you really made it into a complete work of art. And you know, now that I'm looking at the reflection of light across all the different surfaces, you're absolutely right. It's just magnificent and bold, right? So let's turn the watches over and let's put them on. You can put your watch on and I'll put on this beautiful Chinese index Guilloche and Meteorite version of the watch. And I have to say the level of details is exquisite as well, right? So what we have here as to celebrate also this idea of one love. So we have 3 sets of watches of 4 pieces each. 4 pieces with Breguet numerals representing the Western world, 4 pieces with Chinese indexes representing the Asian world, and 4 pieces with Eastern Arabic indexes representing the Middle East as well. And then on top of that, for every one of those watches, it is a pièce unique because he's just made one with a specific decorative technique. So he's made one with a double guilloche pattern. He's made one with a triple guilloche pattern. He's made one with a meteorite center, and he's made one with a combination of Guilloché À Main and gelitas as well. And the result to me is incredible. So I know that you've decided to purchase that watch. Tell me why.
I actually wanted to go for the Chinese characters one, but man, the Breguet numerics, you know, with the gelitas chapter ring, with this beautiful basket weaving, this one just takes the cake for me. I went for this because this, to me, in my eyes, the absolute classic elegance, and this is why I went for this configuration.
I think it's a brilliant choice. Well done, sir.